Second point is that we learn particularly well from the act of creating or expressing something for others to see. Just that the creation process itself is very informative. So if we're involved in creating something, we'll learn from that process. And especially if we know there's other people watching what we do. That will help them and it will help us. A third point, we learn a lot by just observing the activity of our peers. So it's kind of that monkey see, monkey do type mentality. If you see someone else doing something, you'll actually learn from that. Now that could be you're learning how they do something really well. It might be seeing them do something really poorly, and you'll learn from that process. You'll learn not to do that. And it might not always be a good thing. You might learn bad habits. But in general in Moodle, what we try and do is make it very open so you can see what other people are doing. Fourth point is by understanding the context of others, we can teach in a more transformational way, which is more about constructivism. So the idea that we construct our knowledge based on our background, our environment that we're brought up in. And if you understand that about people, then you actually be able to teach them in a better way. You know where they're coming from, how, well, you ask a question, they respond in some way, but if you know their background, you'll actually be able to understand that. So again, in Moodle, what we try and do is make it very open. There's user profiles, and we try and open that up for other people to see. And so we give you as much information as we can, given that there's also privacy rules around some things, but as much information as you can about other users so you can actually understand their viewpoint on things. And the final point is that a learning environment needs to be flexible and adaptable. Just the idea, you might have run a unit here at the university, you might have set up all your activities and your resources, maybe you use Moodle, you put them online, you set it up, you ran the course through 2009, hey, it comes to 2010, you're doing the same course again, it's the same resources, it's the same content, but you've actually got a different group of students and you just need to actually deal with them in a different way. And so with your face-to-face teaching, especially if you're in high school, you actually get used to that very quickly, that you really quickly need to adapt to that group of students. They're just you have to teach them in a different way. And so the idea, again, in Moodle is that you should be able to do that with any course. You grab a course, you should be able to move around the orders of resources and so on and change settings so that it just works in slightly different ways. And so as much as possible, we try and make that happen within Moodle. So as I said, there's actually, so all the different modules and activities and all sorts of things will actually fit into some of these. Some will just measure up to one of these, some will do a few of them. So I just randomly put some up there to let you know all these different things that are actually we work on and we try and make fit into those different categories. So as I said, just to summarise that part, it is really important if you're using Moodle, keep that in the back of your head because you actually get the most out of Moodle if you know that's how it's been developed from that standpoint. It's not just a random set of tools that are being put in there, there actually is a deliberate methodology about how things are put into Moodle. And as I said, Martin drives the developers that way too. The developers, in most cases, don't come from an education background. Martin does actually, which is a good thing. The head of the project is someone from an education background. And so he's very, very good at keeping the developers in line about doing that as well. And more often than not, he'll drive the development from what the teachers and lecturers want in the main Moodle community. They'll actually make suggestions. That will drive the development, not what the developers want. So he keeps the time. They're there to basically serve the educators. All right. Let me move on. Oh, just some interesting stats. So the Moodle HQ, the Moodle headquarters, where it's from, we're based in, love this map. This is the map we should be showing the world. That's the real map of the world. We're based in Perth, in Australia, up there at the top. So it's good to come down under. So that's where Martin's from, and yeah, he worked at Curtin University. So that's the main Moodle headquarters is there. Just for information purposes, really. Moodle headquarters, what does it look like? There's been a few Moodle headquarters. This was the first one, Martin's apartment. It's probably a bad photo. He was at the top right. I do have that pointer somewhere, don't I? I lost it. Yeah, so that was his house, and I used to cycle over there and work in his room, in the study there. And he had his oldest child was still a baby, I think, at that point. So instead of that one, or the next one, rocking to sleep under the desk as we're typing away till late at night, until his wife came in and told me to go home and him to get to bed. So at one point, Martin she said, well, we've got to move out here and get an office. So it doesn't come up. There we go. So that was the very first official offices of Moodle. It's actually about one street away from Martin's house, and it was a little orange house, funnily enough, purely by accident. So we moved in there. We soon outgrew that. So I don't have a photo of the outside of this one. So this was the actual Moodle headquarters up to about a month ago. So Martin's actually moved out of those offices. We've stayed. I'll explain later. We've kind of separated our ways in terms of what we do with Moodle. So our company's actually stayed in those offices. So it's our offices now. And so about a month ago, Martin moved into this place here. It's not much of a photo. It's the best one I could find at the moment. But that's the address. If you're in Perth, you're most welcome to go and visit him. He loves visitors, people popping in and so on. So always very welcome to go and visit him and all the developers there. All right. So let me move on. Let me talk about the present. So talking about how the community is involved with Moodle. So the Moodle community is Moodle.org. If you are a Moodle user, I would really hope that you've actually just quick show of hands, how many people have hopped onto Moodle.org at some point and hopped on the forums and so on? Oh, fantastic. Preaching to the converted again. So the main Moodle community is Moodle.org. At the moment, I think there's over 1 million user accounts there at Moodle.org. At any point in time, there's probably about 50 to 60,000 actually active users who are posting on the forums and so on, which is actually a good case study in Moodle. Moodle does scale very well up those levels. Moodle.org is a Moodle site in its own right, and for the IT nerds, any? Oh, yes. Moodle runs on it's on two servers, a web server and a database server that sits off it, and they're not that highly spec'd. So it's actually, you've got some stats on it in one of the docs. It's good to know. How the community is involved. One of the big ideas, one of the big things, they come up with ideas. So as I said, development of Moodle, it might be teachers just saying, hey, we don't like how the forum works, for instance, or we don't like this user interface. Can you change how it works? And so Martin grabs ideas from Moodle.org. They also might report bugs that happen in Moodle. There's actually a tracker that tracks the bugs. Also it tracks new ideas, actually, feature requests and so on. So tracker.moodle.org. It's all very open. And even the new features are actually tracked in the tracker as well, and you can see how developers are talking about it, how they're developing it. So the community can actually find bugs. These things just don't work how they should. Probably the most important part of all that is that they're having discussions about it and voting on these issues. So Moodle 2, Martin went and looked at all the new ideas that people had come up with, and I think he just took the top 10 voted issues and said, right, we're going to do our best to get all 10 of those into Moodle. Because he said that's what the community wants. They're the people using Moodle, they're the ones voting on it, let's just do it. As long as they kind of fit it into what the core pedagogy of Moodle was. So there's all that going on. And coming out of Moodle.org, there's quite a few things. There's a lot of open source code coming out, so there's a lot of programmers there. So someone might come up with an idea. There's a lot of universities like Open University who actually have a team of people paid by the university who work on Moodle. And a lot of their development and more of what they put into their Moodle site actually makes its way back into the core Moodle code, which is fantastic. So there's a lot of code coming out. There's a lot of the priorities. As I said, Moodle.org kind of sets the priorities of what's coming up in the future versions. They're not the final voice on that. Martin is, and I kind of think that's the right approach too. You do need one person, one developer to head up the project. But generally, Moodle.org, the community actually sets the priorities, what's going to be in each version. And also, there's a lot of information coming out of Moodle.org. If you've got a problem with something, hop onto the forums there. Someone will be online somewhere in the world and I'll answer your question very quickly. Chances are someone's already had that problem. I'll point you to the right information. There's also online documentation now and everything out there. So there's plenty of help online if you need it.